Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, we'll be tracking a very active weather pattern across the western United States, bringing multiple storm systems with flooding rain and heavy snow. And we'll also be looking across the eastern United States. Will we be seeing snow? Will we be seeing rainfall? And what is the weather patterns across those areas going through the middle of January? And we'll also be looking at the long range weather forecast going through the end of the month and into early February. When will winter and all that cold air return? The answer to that question will be later on in this video. If you guys have not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks to all the new subscribers out there. We are approaching 12,000 subscribers as of this morning. So hit the subscribe button, everybody, and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. I cover Canada, the United States, the tropics, and everything in between. So hit the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Looking back over the past 24 hours, it has been very active across the West Coast, and in particular across north central California here. We've been seeing areas into northwestern California actually over 4 inches of rain over the past 24 hours, and also some rain and snow across the eastern United States as well, with those severe storms across the Carolinas getting through Georgia and North Florida over the past 24 to 36 hours. Other than that, we have been pretty quiet across the middle of the country, and that will remain the case going through much of this weekend as we have several low pressure systems going back here into the north central Pacific that are going to be slamming into the west coast going through this weekend into early next week. We got a 977 millibar low just off the coast here of the United States. Behind that, we still have 3 more different low pressure systems waiting in the wings to move farther east in towards California, Oregon, and Washington State as we get through this weekend and in towards the middle of January. So let's track this here going through the day today on Friday, January 6th. Again, a little bit of a lull in the action as that system is a little bit farther off the coast, but still some lighter mountain snow up here into Idaho, getting through the Salt Lake City area here into Utah and portions of western Colorado, maybe some snow accumulating there. But as we go into the day on Saturday to start the weekend here, Saturday, January 7th, we'll start to see that system pull in from the west, bringing some higher elevation snow here to Washington State, Oregon, and Northern California. But where it is warm enough to rain, from Seattle down through Portland, Oregon, and then farther south towards Sacramento, California, we will see some heavy rainfall breaking out through the day on Saturday, particularly into Saturday afternoon. And looking at that time frame going into through this weekend on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, these are your rainfall amounts here, and we could be seeing 1 to 3 inches of rainfall across northern and central California, some lighter amounts farther to the north across Oregon and Washington State, pretty much on average of around 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain there. And that will be causing some flooding going in through this weekend here as well, from today going into tomorrow, just with all the rainfall we've seen in the past 24 to 48 hours. An additional 1 to 3 inch rain amounts going into this weekend. There is no surprise we have a slight to moderate risk for flash flooding into northwestern California, especially near the coastline there, going through that Saturday morning time frame. And that continues even into the day on Sunday as well, with that marginal to slight risk for flash flooding across portions of California, especially into northern and central California here going into that time frame. Also looking at the higher elevation snows, especially into the Sierra Nevadas going through this weekend. We could be dropping a lot more snow, up to around 1 foot of snow in some places here from northern and central California through the Sierra Nevada mountains there. But if you guys are still with me on the video, definitely remember to press that like button. It's that thumbs up button out there. Thank you guys so much for pressing the like button each and every day. I definitely appreciate it. But going ahead here to Sunday, January 8th, we still got another system waiting in the wings back to the west across the north central Pacific that still has yet to move on to the west coast of the United States. That will make an appearance as we get here into that Sunday time frame. Heavier mountain snow, heavier rain across the west coast. And then as we get into early next week, this is another system that is going to be pumping in all that moisture here across the west coast. And this is really when we're going to start to see some more widespread flooding rain across northern, central California, and then this time getting getting up farther to the north across coastal Washington state and Oregon as well. And then those higher elevation snows, those Sierra Nevada mountains are going to be getting crushed with snowfall getting into early next week on Monday and even on Tuesday as well. And that rainfall will start to extend farther to the south, getting towards the Los Angeles region on Tuesday, January 10th. So looking at the rainfall over the next 120 hours, going through early next week on Tuesday, January 10th, we could be adding several more inches of rain, if not a foot of rain across northern and northwestern California here in some places. Getting back here into central California, we could easily see 3 to 6 inches worth of rain. And then getting even farther south towards southern California, we could be seeing averaging around, an inch of rain across portions of the Los Angeles region, and then getting up here to the western suburbs there of Los Angeles. And again, going into early next week here, we got Sunday into Monday, we got that slight risk for flash flooding here. And then a rare day 4 excessive rainfall outlook showing 2 separate moderate risks this far out for flash flooding. This is going to be very concerning here as we see multiple days in a row of flooding here and very heavy rainfall. And that's going to be adding to some of this moisture into the soil and definitely going to be much easier to flood across north central California as we, add on more moisture here to that already saturated soil into those areas going in towards the early and middle portion of next week. Also, the Sierra Nevada mountains as well, we are going to be getting absolutely crushed by snowfall. We're seeing over 100 inches of snow, several feet of snow, double-digit foot snowfall totals here across the Sierra Nevada mountains into California. So definitely some very heavy snows for the watershed out west. But looking across the United States in general here for your high temperatures today, we still got those very cold high temperatures across the Dakotas into Minnesota and Wisconsin. Again, over that fresh snowpack, we're only going to be able to muster the teens and low 20s out here across those areas. But farther south, where it is snow-free, we are seeing highs into the 50s, 60s, and even some widespread 70s down here into Texas and the Gulf Coast. That will continue into the weekend. And then again, that cold air will be modifying just a little bit with those upper teens to low 20s for highs across the upper Midwest, but still very seasonable to slightly above average across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and getting up here into the Northeast with those 30s, 40s, and even some lower 50s being found across those areas getting into the day on Saturday. And then going into Sunday, again, more of the same, more seasonable to a slightly above average temperatures going into that time frame. And again, we'll be starting to modify some of that cold air over that snowpack farther to the north across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin as we get towards Sunday, January 8th, with more mid-20s for highs across those areas by that time frame. Also looking at the precipitation outlook going through the very middle of January through January 15th, very active across the western United States, across California, Nevada, and really the western coastline of the United States here with well above average precipitation. Some of these storm systems will start to traverse from west to east towards the Central Plains as well and the Missouri Valley, especially getting closer to that 15th time frame, and we'll start to see some wetter conditions appear from portions of Maine all the way down to Florida during the middle of the month as well. And then after the middle of the month, as we pushed into that third week in January, going through January 19th, there are signs that we're still going to be very active across the West. But this time, I think more systems start to develop in the middle of the country and push off to the east here, and including more of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast as we get through that January 19th timeframe. So looking at one of those systems, as we go into the middle and late portion of next week, again, this is a little far out, but it does show the theme that we're going to start to see more moisture wrapping around a couple of low pressure systems as they push into the Central Plains and into the Ohio Valley during this time frame, and it's going to be providing some moisture across the eastern 2/3 of the country here that has been so quiet as of recent. We could be seeing a couple of storm systems toward the middle and end of the month here. And you can see getting in toward the middle and end of next week on Thursday, January 12th, there could be some snow up here into the north woods of Wisconsin, getting into eastern portions of Minnesota and the UP of Michigan, maybe some lake effect snow there by next Thursday. Farther south, though, we're still seeing those slightly to much above average temperatures. And again, with that in conjunction with precipitation, that means all rainfall for the Illinois Valley and the Missouri Valley getting farther to the south on Thursday, and that will sweep its way farther east into the mid-Atlantic and portions of the southeast on Friday. Maybe some snow into northeastern Pennsylvania and western New York State, but I'm not really expecting too much in the way of snow here. This may be more of a mix of rain and snow by the time we get closer to this time frame. And again, farther southward, more showers, more thunderstorms. Again, it's going to be too warm for any snowfall farther south into the Carolinas, Virginia, or Maryland during this time frame. And then by the time we get into next weekend on Saturday, January 14th, it just mainly looks like rain with this system. With all those warmer temperatures, that cold air will be bottled up to the north and maybe some flurries up here across portions of Quebec and Ontario, Canada. But that is about it with the extent of the winter precipitation going towards the middle of the month, towards the eastern 2/3 of the United States. So looking at the precipitation amounts here, looking at first the rainfall amounts, we're going to be seeing some pretty heavy rain in some spots across the mid-Atlantic and across that I-95 corridor here from Boston down through New Jersey, New York City, and through Connecticut here. We could be talking about 1 to 3 inches worth of rain. And that'll extend farther south and west towards northern Virginia and Maryland as well, going straight through the middle of the month. There could be some more precipitation developing across the southeast here from time to time. But again, looking at the winter precipitation, we're not seeing lots of that snow out there. We're really just not seeing all that cold air moving farther south. That's going to be staying up to the north. And again, we could be talking a few inches of snow across Quebec and Ontario, Canada, going toward the middle of the month, maybe an inch or two here or there across the northeast and the mid-Atlantic, but no blockbuster snows or anything like that going through the next couple of weeks. But again, like I said, going through the middle of the month, it's going to be well above average for much of the lower 48, and that extends all the way through January 19th during that time frame. And the reason for that is because that polar vortex is well far up to the north into the Arctic here where it does belong, and it looks like we're going to start to see that western piece of that polar vortex get stretched farther west here toward the Aleutian Islands. And again, that is in conjunction with all those very active systems farther off to the west. But with a strong polar vortex, we just don't have that southern push to the cold air that we normally see with a weaker polar vortex that would move farther south. We just don't see that through the middle of the month. So it looks like we're going to be remaining much above average with those temperatures down here into the United States. Across Western Canada, however, it could be a little bit more of a different story going toward the middle of the month on Monday, January 16th, as we could be seeing a little bit more stretching starting to take place of that polar vortex across those areas and into Alaska during that time frame. But looking at our seasonal snowfall amounts here that we've seen so far this winter, we've seen a lot of mountain snow out west. There's no mistake in that. We've seen lots of lake effect snow there as well. There's no mistake in that. But we have not seen much of a snowpack across the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, or really any of the southern plains as of yet here. We've had all that heavy snow up into the Midwest, the Northeast here at times, but again, parts of the Northeast here, places like New Jersey, Long Island, getting back into Maryland, really hasn't seen too much snow this winter here. And looking at the long-range weather pattern, as we get into the last week of January, our fortunes could be taking a turn as we have that polar vortex stretching or even a polar vortex disruption becoming more likely towards the end of January, towards that January 29th, 30th, and 31st time frame. As you can see, kind of a couple of lobes of the polar vortex getting stretched farther south toward the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and perhaps the Northeast as well. And that will revolve around that polar vortex here every once in a while. We could be seeing a couple of these cold lobes pushing farther south and a very active subtropical jet here. With all that cold air pushing south, we're going to have a very active subtropical jet getting all of this moisture picked up from the Pacific Ocean and moving it up over the lower 48. And with that cold air dropping south, it is likely to be more of winter precipitation with the snow, the sleet, and the freezing rain out there versus the rain that we're seeing now. And that really takes place toward the very end of the month here, towards January 30th and 31st time frame. And I have reason to believe that that will continue as we go into at least the first week into February. And this could be setting up a favorable pattern for nor'easters and heavier snows across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even parts of the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic that haven't seen much snow this winter. So I definitely feel for all those snow lovers out there. It looks like toward the end of the month, we could be seeing our fortunes change for some heavier snow and more cold as we get back back into winter towards that time frame. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Remember to like the video down below, give it a thumbs up, leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Friday, everyone, a great weekend ahead, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your work week out there, and I will see you all in the next video.